In a world where business can feel like a solo journey, what if you don't have to do it alone? Welcome to Kohort, a game-changing membership by Business Club, where entrepreneurs, creators, and go-getters unite to grow together. Kohort is more than a network. It's your tribe, your think tank, your accountability circle, your growth accelerator. Backed by shared knowledge, peer support, exclusive tools, and real collaboration, Kohort is designed to help you win and help others win with you. Because here, we celebrate success together and tackle challenges as one. Whether you're starting up or scaling up, Kohort gives you the structure, support, and synergy to grow faster and go further. This is the future of business support. This is community. This is growth. This is Kohort.
Hey, Steve.
Hello, Seth.
Welcome to Business Club once again.
Once again, back in the laboratory.
Well, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, too.
Great. So we have something really interesting going on, and I wanted to speak to you regarding that. This is something that we've been talking about for quite some time, but I think we got some shape to the discussion that we've had. So let's talk a little bit about that. It's not so much of an interview, it's more of a discussion. So this is a concept called Kohort that we are going to launch very soon. Kohort with a K by Business Club. So I want to know your thought on that first before I...
I really can't believe it took us this long to figure this out, You and I have been involved in the networking community here in Charlotte for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have been part of different groups, and the groups come and go. And
right.
The reason they go is there isn't any real connection between the members.
Right, that's true.
It's a very shallow relationship.
They just come, go, do nothing. I mean, they probably do something later on, but they're not really a,
Yeah,
okay.
It's more of an accidental thing.
Right.
But what if we tried to make it better? What if we tried to do something different? Instead of trying to attract lots and lots of people, what if we just focused on some people and created a small cohort?
Yeah, I know. You mentioned about, something that Seth Godin had talked about. So do you want to go a little bit deeper into that and see what he said? And
The quote that really sticks in my head is this one, that this is from his book called Tribes.
Tribes, yeah, I read them. It's pretty amazing.
Small tribes are nimble and powerful. Too many organizations care about numbers and not fans. What they're missing is the depth of connection. A small group can move quickly, build trust deeply, and share honestly. That's more impactful than a shallow network of hundreds. But all the networking groups that we've been part of, and we even are guilty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. When we started
with Business Club, we were trying to bring more and more people in here, and that was the metric we were using to measure our success. That's not anything. The success is when our members actually succeed.
Yep, absolutely. So you're talking about deeper connections. So what does that deeper connection mean? And from a member standpoint, what's the thing that they need to look up to?
Hopefully, we'll learn a lot more about what the answer to that question really. But initially, my thoughts are these. It's nice to know who you are and what it is you do and the people you serve. But it'd be really helpful is if I learned more about that. If I knew more about how you do the magic that you do. And I've come to know this about you. And the more that I know about you as an individual and you as a business person,
right,
the much more likely I am to introduce you to somebody else. And not only just introduce you to somebody else at random, but to introduce you to the person that really wants to talk to you and you want to talk to them.
Yep.
We just learn more about what each one of us is about.
Yeah, that's very true. Especially in this day and age, in this digital world, the word of mouth army that you talk about, if we can create that word of mouth army in that cohort that we're creating, that'll be like the biggest step we can take initially and take it from there.
I think so. At Business Club on Tuesdays, we've been talking only about lead generation and digital marketing.
Right.
And at the beginning of every one of those meetings, I comment that the more I learn about these two topics, the more I realize how much I never knew. And if we were to start channeling our efforts on lead generation,
Right.
that's the most important thing. And we too often focus on making a sale. Well, you know what we don't have any control over? Making a sale.
Yeah.
The best we can do is get good leads
Yep.
and be able to manage those leads better.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of such a cohort. I can really list something, some random benefits, but I would also like to know your thoughts on what benefits the members could have. Something I'm thinking about is like shared knowledge, expertise, networking opportunities for sure, and accountability, motivation. What else do you think members can benefit on?
One of the definitions that we've talked about in regards to branding is that branding is what other people say about us to other people.
Right.
So in order for me to be able to explain to someone who you are and what
Yes.
you do, it'd be really helpful if I really knew how you did that.
Yep.
And I do know that. And when I mention you to someone else, I feel confident in being able to explain to them who you are and what you do and the way you do it.
Matters a lot.
Yeah. And that's the benefit. Imagine you become part of this cohort, and now there's 9 other people in there that know that they know you into that depth of understanding so that they can really spread the message.
Makes sense. The other benefit that I think that they can actually, the members of the cohort can actually benefit the access to the tools and the resources that we, not only at Business Club that we have, but also the members who are part of that group. So there's tons and tons of resources that all of us have. Why not bring them together, share them with the members?
There's no question. When I coach my clients, guaranteed, every time I have a session with them, I learn something new from them. Guaranteed. There's a new something that they're doing that I didn't know about. There's a new tactic that they're utilizing that I didn't know about. And we've laughed at this question a million times.
Right.
Of all the knowledge in the world, how much do you have? Oh, 0.000001.
Right.
You know what? We have lots of room to learn new stuff.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and then the other thing that I can think of is problem solving. Every day we face problems that are, that are important, but at the same time, not so easy ones to solve. If we have a cohort that we meet and talk, chat, create WhatsApp groups, and then discuss those things, that's powerful. That's very, very profound. So what do you think about that?
We have also laughed about the fact that there's nothing new in this world.
Right.
Everything has been done before. Every problem that somebody is experiencing, guaranteed, somebody's had the problem before. You're not having a problem for the very first time that no one has ever had before.
Right.
No.
And how do you solve them together is the key question.
The one hurdle that we're going to all have to get over, me included, is we're going to have to start asking for help.
Yeah. And that's dropping your ego and letting yourself go, and then
and becoming a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have been a lone wolf pretty much my whole career.
What would have happened to you if you had this cohort back then?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. And you know that I have this group called Street Smart Sales
Right,
Forum
yes.
that has pretty much been my cohort, although I never looked at it that way.
Formally, yeah.
I never thought of it in those terms. I was wrapped up in the old thinking about more is better.
Right.
And all we were trying to do at Street Smart was to get more people there. Why? I don't know why. I don't know why we were trying to do that. It was just because it was an entertaining event. The guy who founded TED Talks,
Yep.
do you know what his motivation was? Self-amusement. He just wanted to be entertained by people proposing interesting ideas and actually thinking about it and then making a short presentation that he found entertaining. And I think I had the same attitude with Street Smart, that I loved going to those meetings. The conversations were great, but
Right.
to what end? Maybe with the cohort, we can put a solution
Solution to that.
to the effort.
That reminds me, or actually that tells me that this is more of collaborative success than anything else. You're in thick and thin with your business, but also with the help of others trying to help you succeed while you also help them succeed. So, agreed?
Yeah. If we can bring ourselves to become that vulnerable and be able to admit that I'd really like some help in this regard, so we can ask for the help we need,
Right.
and the rest of us can provide the help we can.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty powerful
Very, very
combination.
So it's more like shared opportunities and learning and increased exposure and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So let's now that we've kind of demystified the cohort as a concept, let's talk a little bit about the structure and operations. So how will a cohort membership be structured?
I think it's a year-to-year thing, because I do think it takes time for a group to coalesce and come together. So I think a year is the right amount of time. I think the group having its own private text group, its own WhatsApp group, so that they can talk to each other all the time. And at least in the beginning, to meet once a month. And as the group realizes who everybody is, and we become a little bit more focused in what that particular group is going to be all about, adjust as we go.
All right. What do you think would operations look like on a day-to-day basis?
I don't have a definitive answer to that question just yet, because I do think you get 10 different entrepreneurs together and we start sharing our hopes, our ideas, our questions with each other, and we start figuring out what kind of a roadmap do we want to lay out before us. I think we'll figure it out.
Okay. And is there any specific goals or objectives that you think the cohort members will have between 6 to 12 months?
There has to be one critical element, and that is do not join the cohort unless you know what it is you want.
Right.
What exactly do you want this cohort to deliver to you? I'm trying this at Street Smart, and we were talking to one of the members, and I asked her, how many clients do you really want to bring on board this year? And she said, 2. 2. Now, that's a really important thing to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so once we can learn that level of knowledge about our co-members, our cohort members, we'll be much better served.
Yeah. And what do you think the pricing, we discussed this a little while earlier, what do you think the pricing is going to be for each of this membership?
Well, there are groups out there like this, and they charge a lot.
Yep.
But I think for starters, $1,000 a year seems like a good starting point.
So there's no monthly, it's just $1,000 a year. They join us, then we put them together and, till that cohort gets to about 10 members. and then the membership starts from there, typically. Is that what you're looking at?
Having tried to do something similar to this before, I know it's really hard to get 10 racehorses to line up at the same time
Right.
at the same spot. So I know that it's going to take us a couple of months to bring people into these different cohorts.
Right.
And they're not necessarily all going to arrive at the
Same time.
time and place. So, I think if we get 4 or 5 people,
We can get the ball
then
rolling.
we can get it started. And then with those 4 or 5 people, they can recruit 4 or
Right.
5 other people that they would really like to have in the group with them.
Sure, that makes sense. And what do you think will be the key value for the people who are actually going to pay $1,000 a year?
They have to figure that out. Don't join a group unless you know what that outcome is.
Okay.
And when we get that group together, that's what everybody in the group has to know.
So, what do you think would be, according to you, what would a typical cohort look like? Would there be a cohort for marketing, or there will be a general cohort, or are we going to have just a cohort group that will discuss everything?
Last year when we were talking about masterminds,
Right.
we talked about 2 different kinds of owners, freelancers
Right.
and employers. And I kind of think that's still correct. I think we ought to have freelancers together because as a freelancer, as a former employer, I know that I have employee matters, but as a freelancer, I don't.
Right.
And if you're going to spend one of my monthly meetings talking about employment issues, I don't care. It's not my problem.
Right. So the question is, let's say if you have freelancers and then there's a web designer, are you going to have another web designer there? Or because that's critical, because if you just allow web designers, then we're really having all the web designers in one group. Instead, what I personally think is that if we can have different talents coming into the mix and they adding value to each other, that probably is a rule of thumb that we can follow.
Well, man, that's a good point. What if we get 4 members
Yeah.
to launch a cohort,
Mm-hmm.
and we let those 4 members become involved in the recruiting of the
other.
next 6?
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Let them share in that decision-making process.
Okay. So the cohort, by the founders of that cohort.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There was, I was thinking about this question driving in here and separating them by freelancers from
That's
employers.
a good idea. That's a basic separation.
Here's a third one.
Mm-hmm.
And those are people that are totally committed to scaling. If you've taken your business to that level and you know that, okay, I've got enough of my ducks in a row, it's showtime.
Right.
I really want to put the pedal to the metal and make this thing happen. And maybe that's a third group.
Sure. Pedal to the metal. Okay. How often do you think they should meet? And obviously they'll meet at business club. And what would be the, will there be any virtual meetings or other things that you think you can go along with that?
Again, I think we'll figure that out as we go along. But I do believe and there are usually always 20 working days in any given month.
You're right.
So we've got 10 members in a cohort. So that means every member is responsible for sharing something twice a month in the WhatsApp group.
Right.
Whether it's a question, an observation, an idea, something. So that the text group becomes really important
Right.
in being able to share our experience and expertise.
Right. So we, as a host of Business Club and as like the founding team of Business Club, we'll be part of those groups, and many of those groups we probably will be driving them. Are we part of that cohort, or are we outside of the 10 members that you're talking about?
Really good question. Yes.
Yes, are we part or are we not part?
What?
So it could be. I mean, I think we should probably be the outside and let there be 10 other members. So we'll still be the observer, still be the conductor, still be the leader. That I personally think, you and I cannot be there everywhere all the time, but I think there should be some representation from business club to make things easier.
Yes, I think so too. And it'll be interesting to see how these relationships form amongst our business club members and amongst our cohort members.
Right.
And I hope that we wind up acquiring an inner circle, some people that are really connected to what we're trying to do with business club, and they share in the revenue that
Right,
we're
absolutely.
producing,
Yes.
and they take over some of the lead
Responsibility.
positions
Yeah.
in these cohorts.
Cool. What kind of discussions and topics that the members can actually expect when they're meeting?
I was trying to scratch these out, and there are 4 fundamental ingredients, I think, to any business endeavor. See if I can remember all 4 of them. Number 1 is generating leads. We have to spend more time thinking and talking about the process of leads.
Right.
We focus on sales and marketing, and that's not it. Leads is the outcome that we're all trying to do.
Right.
We got to get better at that. So I think that's really important. Number 2 is finance.
Yep.
We got to understand, how do we actually make money? Number 3 is day-to-day operation. Okay, this is what you do. This is the outcome you produce. Tell me how you do that. What is your operational format? And then the 4th one is the wild card. And the wild card is the future. And that's where AI comes into play. And every new thing that shows up in your inbox that says you should use this to grow your business. So to me, those are the 4 basic ingredients, I think.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure there are more.
Sure. We can explore that as we go along. Any guidelines and expectations that you can think of what the members should follow?
They have to have an objective as to why they're going to do this.
Right.
They have to know that going in, and the group has to know that,
Right.
so that we can all be on the lookout for our cohort members, for them to be able to achieve the outcomes that they want.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing. And then we've got to make it at least a small part of our daily routine, or at least our weekly routine,
Right.
to be a little bit proactive, to keep moving the group forward.
Absolutely. Any behavioral expectations from the members of the cohort?
Well, privacy is, of course, a
Yeah.
given.
Yeah.
Whatever we do in Vegas stays in Vegas. Whatever we do in our cohorts, it's within our cohorts.
Okay.
I mean, that's a given. It's hard to legislate morality. I mean, we expect everyone to get along. We expect
Yeah.
everyone to be open and understanding and patient and
Yeah.
courteous and kind, and all those Boy Scout
Yeah. Principles.
principles.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it is very important to kind of have that, people come to business club, they come to the think tank, we kind of assess them for some time and then say, hey, I think you're a good candidate for our cohort. I think there has to be some kind of a qualification criteria. Not necessarily, that you have to be with business club for so long, but at least just enough to know that, or at least someone who is referring you to the cohort. You should be an eligible candidate who can join the cohort.
Yeah, and I like the idea of bringing 4 of them on board,
Right.
to get one started.
Right.
And I think they are going to be a little bit more of the the leadership team within a group. But in tribes, what Seth talks about is if you become part of a cohort or become part of a tribe, you are a leader. That's one of the key things.
Right. Important. Any obligations that or commitment that you expect from the members?
I expect them to attend the in-person sessions. I would expect them to contribute to the group text conversations.
Right.
I would expect them to ask for help. I mean, if you're not going to ask for help, how exactly can we help you?
Right. And at the end of the year, you don't want to be in a position where, hey, I joined this, paid this, but did not get anything out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Very important. Any ideas on how members will be able to collaborate with one another or help each other succeed?
I think that'll be determined by the members of any given cohort when they start to realize who those people are. And going back to the different kinds of members, and I think we talked about this before, about a difference between a B2B business versus a
Right, a
B2C
B2C, yeah.
business. And maybe we ought to pay attention to that too.
Yeah, before we classify them. Okay, makes sense. What kind of support or resources you think either business club can provide or the cohort themselves can provide to each other?
Oh, you touched on this a little earlier about the expertise that these cohort members bring, and having a Haley Wilson be able to talk to the group about how she coaches people on using AI to improve your communication.
Right.
Yes, I certainly can see that, where our cohort members become trainers
Right.
in some sense.
Are there opportunities for one-on-one mentorship?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any kind of
Absolutely.
personalized support. Okay, got it. So what kind of values will the cohort membership be based on? And how important are these for the success of the program?
When I talk to clients and when I talk to entrepreneurs, in the marketplace, we are bringing two things when we bring an offer to the table. We're bringing our expertise. So we are talented, skilled, and we're good at something. But that's not enough. There's also our character.
Right.
And it's who we are as a person. And especially true with freelancers and very much true with small business owners.
Yep.
With we freelancers, it's our character that goes hand in hand with whatever our solution is when we're trying to connect with a prospect. Business owners who have employees have the exact same challenge, only they have it twofold. They're trying to connect to clients, but they're also trying to connect to employees.
Right.
And in both instances, those same two factors matter. We're good at what we do, and we're good people.
Right.
Character matters just as much as the solution we bring.
Absolutely. So how can Business Club, as a host of these cohorts, be supportive and collaborative in building the cohort and maintaining them?
I think that membership fee has something to do with it.
Of course.
We've talked about skin in the game.
Yes.
And if you're going to join a cohort like this and invest $1,000, make sure you're going to get your money's worth out of it. I mean, it's not, Business Club can help, but if the 10 members of that cohort, they have to be driving the bus. We're kind of providing the bus,
Yes.
to go with that analogy.
That's a great analogy.
But they're driving it.
And they know where exactly to go. They know where the destination is and what the journey looks like.
If we get the right people on the bus, yeah.
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 Very important. How do we plan to measure the success of cohort?
BNI likes to track business referred
Referrals,
or
yeah.
some such thing, right? I never really liked that number. I never believed it. in the other sense. And I was brought up that you never talk about money. And I still kind of have that attitude. I don't like to talk about money,
Yeah, same here.
but it's kind of the main measuring stick when it comes to our business. And I don't want to know what people are making. I don't want to know the numbers, but I would like to know if they're better than they were and if they are exceeding their expectations.
Right.
I mean, that's how I'd like to do it. Are you exceeding your expectations?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Absolutely. So it's more subjective rather than have a definite number that we're going after.
Well, it's pretty objective. I mean, if I know what I want my business to generate, I'm either doing it or I'm not doing it. And, am I meeting my budget? Am I meeting my plan?
Right.
That's what we want to accomplish. Whatever your plan is, what we're trying to do is to help you achieve that with minimal use of resources.
Right. So you mentioned earlier about some cohorts that exist today. Can you give some examples and how their journey have been or how their experience have been?
Well, Vistage is the one that I think is most well known.
That's more like a mastermind, isn't it?
It's very similar to this in that they create cohorts of multi-million-dollar CEOs. So you have to be a multi-million-dollar enterprise and to be the CEO of that enterprise in order to be a member of Vistage. At least I think that's true. And they kind of do the same thing. There's another group called Executive Forum, and I have been to a couple of those meetings, and they're remarkable. The level of trust and interaction that takes place amongst those members is remarkable. They share their financial statements with each other.
Wow. Financial statements.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So from a business club standpoint, what steps do you think we should actually take to ensure that these cohorts continue to evolve and get better and better and keep providing value over time?
Well, the first thing we ought to do is find the first 4 people to join the party and help us get cohort number 1 off the ground.
Right.
And I do think these cohorts will be the real value that Business Club is going to provide.
I do too.
Our marketplace.
I think it's going to be one of the biggest success stories that we can create. And because if you're able to create a group of 10 and all those 10 people within that cohort gets incredible value out of it, that's like 10 people succeeding together, collaborative success.
If they all hit their goals.
If they all hit their goals, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any future roadmap for this 1 to 3 years? Where do you see this happening? I know we're opening in Concord and we're opening in Fort Mill. So you talked about 10 cohorts per location, right?
Yeah.
So
in a perfect world and trying to envision what Business Club is really going to be.
Right.
And we have 100 to 150 people that are connected with each given club. Some of them come to the events on Tuesday. Yeah. We create these 10 cohorts with 10 people each in them. So we have those meetings taking place, and we still have the open discussions on Tuesdays, where we get to put these topics on the table and start thinking about these things. Truthfully, it's those Tuesday meetings that we've had this year, where we've been focused on lead generation and digital marketing, that has brought us to this conversation about cohorts.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Any closing thought that you would like to give?
So in a microcosmic example, the relationship that you and I have developed because of the time we spend together and the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas between us, that's what we're trying to create.
And this should flow amongst all the members.
Yeah. because it's priceless.
Very cool. And if someone were to decide to get started, how can they get started? What are the things that they need to do to be a part of our cohort?
They need to talk to us.
And then come to think tanks?
Come to the think tanks, be part of it. And I think we probably already know who these first 4 people might be.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we know first 10 or 12 people.
So I'm looking forward to talking to them.
Right.
And getting their feedback and input as to how we get this thing moving.
Very good. I'm excited, Steve. This is another feather in the cap, I guess. And, can't wait for this to be launched. And let's have a blast this year and beyond.
That sounds like a good idea. I like it.
All right. So once again, a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey guys, I hope you really liked the video. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. And we would like to reach many more small business owners. I would really appreciate if you can share the video with them as well. Thank you and see you until next time. Have a great one.